Hello, welcome to Module 6. It's going to be a great module. Again, we are doing our little video for the quiz that you have to take. It is 4 points, so I'm going to open it real quick so you can see kind of what you're looking for. We're going to preview it real quick. You have 4 questions. They are true and false, multiple choice, and true and false, multiple choice. We will be talking about our first internships as well as what's in this module. So make sure you take a moment to walk through this and get ready, because if you don't, you can't open the module. And for those of you that were module 5 and you're like, couldn't get in, we fixed the problem. So we're going to jump back in. I'm going down to module 6. So let's dive into this one. This week we are focusing on revenue and resources. So revenue and resources. So hopefully you are ready. I know for some of you are like, wait, we did revenue and resources already. Well, the goal of this one is to go back, look at what you've done so far. You started your pilot. You're actually in your solution, making things happen. And sometimes when you plan something out and what actually happens are 2 different things. So in this one, we want you to go back and look at your revenue, look at your expenses, and see, does it make sense? Are there things that you should take out? Are there things that you need to add? And again, you're going to do this with your partnership, or with your organization, not your partnership, your organization. So as we jump in, this video will land in the quiz. It will also land right here. This video from Amy will be on the back so you can see it. This module, let's talk about it just before we dive into it. You have got really 4 assignments. The first one is your time card. Second one is your sustainability revenue project, which I was just talking about. Your third is your Yellow Dig peer discussion. And then for your 4th, this is kind of a double whammy, because you are going to be doing like we did 2 weeks ago when you looked at the educational studies outcomes. We're going to focus on that again this module, but you're looking at active learning and identity as an educator. So it's in the same document. So it is kind of a double whammy, but spend some time walking through this. So as we look at this, I really want you to think about things, a couple things. I want you to stay present. I want you to listen, and I want you to observe, because those are key points to all of this. Listen, stay active, or stay engaged in the moment, and observe. So keep that in mind. Patrick, anything that you want to chat about before we get started in this? Thoughts for the top of the unit?
I know that it seems students like you're redoing the work from module 3. You're not. Fundraising is completely different from your revenue stream. Think of it as 2 separate pots of money. Your fundraising money is the money that you're getting that you can then turn around and go and use for things like social activities. You can use it for honoring people by awards and banquets, things like that. Think of it as the money that you can spend, like your liquid income that you can get. But your sustainable revenue, that's really how you keep your program alive. That's how you keep your organization going. And there are nuances to that, and it can come from multiple sources. It doesn't have to come from just one source. So think of it as 2 separate pots of money. One is the stuff that's just like liquid income that you can just, not frivolously spend, but you can spend it. The other one is the stuff that's coming in that you're using to keep your organization going: materials, labor, M&O, all that kind of thing.
All right. Thank you for that, Patrick, because those are some interesting and important points that you need to think about and walk through. All right. Another thing, review your readings and viewings. They're right here. Again, we're looking at the Center for Community Health and Development. We're also looking at IDEO. So use these resources and make sure that you review them. So let's dive in a little bit more. So as we hit that next button, we are in sustainable revenue. Yes, there is a template. So as I click on our sustainable revenue template, kind of your first quiz question, are you redoing your entire strategy? No, you are not redoing this entire strategy. You are building from what you did in module 3 and now pulling it through to module 6. So really go back through, start with your readings. They're right there again. You want to look at your project budget. Are you on track? And what I would suggest is for you to go through this first, make some notes, and then meet with your team. So that way you can see the difference between what you said in module 3 with your budget and then where are you today. And then you can even highlight things that you think that have changed, things that you need to delete. Highlight, use some different colors so that way you have a productive conversation with them. Another thing, I think Patrick mentioned this as he was talking about grants and donations. Are you using grants and donations? A lot of people say, I'm going to fund my whole solution on grants and donations. That's great, but what if the funding source dries up? What if they won't fund you year after year? How are you going to keep that solution going? Because we both know if you don't have the money, the project dies. So keep that in mind. And sometimes it's in kind. Can you get in kind services? Can you have people donate, volunteer? But again, what is your plan long term? So another group of things to think about is, are you selling a product? I know with one of the organizations that I worked with, we sold certain things. So that way that generated revenue. And for people that couldn't afford it, we did a sliding scale. So the money, the things that we sold actually helped offset the people that could not pay. So keep that in mind as you're looking at this. Are there products that you can sell? Another person had mentioned t-shirts and hats. Those are great, but you're constantly looking for new sources to make that revenue or to generate that revenue. So keep that in mind. Additional strategies. What other strategies are you using? Scale. What is your project as it scales? And how does that look? Patrick.
Yeah. So one of the things I was going to add there, Dr. J, is you're when you're dealing with this as a student, you're working for an organization, you're interning in an organization, you are ultimately confined by what their vision is and what they need to have done. But you still have to complete these assignments. And these assignments really are more of a, what if you could wave your magic wand and have everything happen the way that you want it to happen? So while there's a balance of listening and looking and saying, what can I do to serve this organization for the vision and the mission that it has in its current state? For the assignment, what we want you to do is take it a step further and say, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it right now, what would it look like? What would it sound like? How would your perfect vision of this be? Then take that and use that backwards planning model and say, all right, now I have to put in these budget pieces. Now I have to put in these fundraising pieces. Now I have to imagine, where am I going to get a constant stream of revenue from? That will take some research. That will take some thinking outside the box on your part.
So keep that in mind as you walk through this. All right, let's jump back. So that is your 40-point assignment for this week. So make sure you allocate some time and you plan to work with your team again. Work with your team and your organization to make sure that you're finishing that. Again, there is a rubric, so double check the rubric so you know what's going on and you understand the pieces that are there. Let's click our next. Yellow Dig, you do have a Yellow Dig conversation. It is following, what are you focusing on? This is a good place to learn about what other people are doing that you could potentially do in your organization. And I think the one thing that I like about having interns in is it helps me see things from their point of view and look at some of the new ideas that I might not have thought of. So really think about what you can bring to the table. Be respectful as you're presenting them, but make sure you're sharing some of your ideas and then walk through why they potentially wouldn't work. Because sometimes the organizations, we get set in our ways and our patterns, and sometimes it's good to think outside of the box. All right, next up. So after Yellow Dig, you have your timesheet. So please, we love listening or reading and hearing what you guys are up to. So please go in and let us know. Please don't pre-fill that. Make sure that you're telling us every week what you're currently doing. If there's something that you do every single week, great, but try to build on what you're doing and share more of what's happening. So again, you went through this kind of structure 2 weeks ago. Now we're looking at active learning as well as identity as an educator. So I want you to really think about this one because this is really important as you reflect back on what you're doing. So this is your template. From your template, you'll know it gives you the same 2 documents that you can look at the domains and look at the learning outcomes. So that way you know what you're kind of focusing on. Again, as you're looking through this, first you're going to look at active learning. You're going to choose 3 courses that relate to that really speak to what you learned and how you kind of applied what you've learned to the different situations. So again, your 3 courses and then how it works into the courses. So then after that, steps 5 and 6, looking at identity as an educator. And then again, you're identifying and you're looking at, 3 different courses. How does it fit in? And then sharing what you've learned. So I'm going to jump back just so we can make sure we're on the same page. So you have this activity, and then you have this one. So you have 2 main pieces for this semester. I think my dog is going to start barking, but you have 2 main pieces. With this one, you are meeting with your team. You're reviewing the budget that you created in Module 3. You're updating that budget. You're looking at how do you sustain your project across across time, and looking at all the different factors that come into play. You are not creating a brand new revenue and, fundraising strategy. You're updating. So with that, hey, Patrick, what was your first internship?
My first internship?
Yes. What was
Well,
it?
Dr. J, I'm so glad you asked. So my first internship was in my senior year of college. It was working for a merchant card services company, and it was just me and the guy that owned it and his mother, who was the administrative assistant. And my job was to make sure that credit card terminals were operating. So I had to drive all over the valley and all the way up into central Arizona, and any one of his clients that used a credit card terminal to process credit card transactions, I had to go service those terminals. So I put a lot of miles on my own vehicle during that year.
Wow.
And that was during the last time that gas cost almost $4 a gallon, but it was in 2007.
That was a lot, because $4 in 2007 is a lot more than what it is in 2000 or 2022.
Completely unrelated to education.
But
It was a great opportunity to get a paid internship, and I did it.
that's awesome. My first internship was with Pan Pacific Camera Company, and we were a part of a small business association kind of grant-funded project. And so businesses would apply to the Small Business Association, and then through the college I went to Loyola Marymount, and they would have all of these juniors and seniors that were a part of a particular course. And part of what we were doing was working with businesses and looking at how businesses could streamline and do things a little bit better. So it was a junior senior seminar, and I worked with Pan Pacific Camera Company, I'll say it again, and we went into this particular camera company, and it's in LA, and what they did was they were a camera company to movie houses and production studios. So they were more than a camera company, because they sold everything to create a movie in Hollywood. And they had a loan program, they had a program where they would sell things, but the one thing that they didn't do is they always did like the friend agreement, where if you came in and you needed a camera, or you needed a backdrop, or you needed a boom, or you needed all these different scaffolds or whatever, you could just go in and say, hey, Bill, I'm going to take your boom today, or hey, Bill, I'm going to take this $7,500 camera, or hey, Bill, I'm going to take this huge, crane thing. And, Bill was like, sure, bring it back when you're done. So Bill had reported that he was losing millions every year, but he really wasn't using millions. He just didn't have a good system of accounting for what was going in and what was going out. So we helped him on business practices and helping him understand and to figure out, how do you create a system where you're not telling your friend that you don't trust them, you're looking at accountability. So how do you make things accountable? So it was probably one of the best experiences I've had as an intern, and working with a company that was a mega $1 million company, and that let us come in and do some cool stuff. So that was my first experience, and mine was with Pan Pacific Camera Company. And Patrick, what was yours with, again, just for those that didn't hear it the first time?
It was merchant card services.
All right, so we've given you the 4 answers to the quiz. If you don't know the 4 answers, please join us for office hours. We are here to support you, and we look forward to working with you.
Tuesday from 6 to 7 Arizona time.
Don't forget that. See you later. Bye, guys.